All right, we are live now for 17 people. All right, so the way this works, you guys can see some stuff at the bottom. You can give reactions if people are saying stuff you like or don't like. We have chat, so you can talk while we're talking. We have questions and stuff like that. So feel free. You can also raise your hand and stuff like that. So feel free to use all those features while we're talking. I am here today with a good friend of mine who came to me about his Amazon brand recently, and we thought, hey, let's talk about this more live on the show. All right, so we'll start this. Welcome to episode 2 of the Zack Franklin Show, featuring special guest Maor, and today we're going to talk about affiliates approaching Amazon and probably Google Ads and maybe even a little bit of native. Okay, so feel free and introduce yourself.
Just before I even start introducing myself, I want to give the warmest hug possible that I can through this platform and say that Zack has been more than amazing with helping me, and it's such a non-trivial thing when you just meet someone at a conference. He doesn't owe you anything, doesn't know you, and the guy was like willing to help, fully like into the project, and Zack has been more than amazing in terms of like friendship and stuff. You can't ask for something more in this industry. So yeah, and Roger has been amazing also. and a big part of the team, yeah. So just a quick intro on me, because people tend to think like I'm a Google guy, I'm a Facebook guy, so I'm trying to be like what I first started to call a full stack media buyer, and that means I'm fully invested in learning, researching, spending money, optimizing, launching campaigns on everywhere that you can spend money on. If it means Amazon, then Amazon, Google, Facebook, native stuff. So I'm trying to be wherever I can, and I'm really obsessed with media buying. So everything that there is to know, or creative ways to manipulate the systems and stuff like that. I started something like 11 or 12 years ago, was working at an agency, had and own an agency. Now in between I own 11 different companies. Just like everything from data monetization company that we are doing through email and SMS, to owning my own brands, to even opening my first offline business 3 years ago, which is my fitness center, who is currently closed, and we had to make a big pivot. And actually COVID was one of the better things that helped that business to kind of like explode, because currently we're the biggest ones that are doing online workouts through our own application and platform and stuff like that we developed like from scratch. So we're the biggest in Israel. You can actually see national commercials that we're doing and stuff like that. The big thing that kind of like drew me into Amazon was my brand that's called Nunk, which is like my vitamins and supplements company. And honestly, the way that I approached Amazon is probably different than most guys, unless Zack or you guys would just tell me something else. But the way that I saw it was like Amazon kind of was like, for me at least, a niche kind of like thing and platform. I know it's super huge and stuff for you guys, but I wasn't like really involved up to like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And my main reason for getting into Amazon was the fact that I kind of like felt like I'm losing traffic essentially. So we're pulling in traffic from taboola or outbrain or the Google display network or the shopping network. People are viewing the product, but since they've been scammed and ordered stuff and never received it and stuff like that happened to them, they were trying to search for like my brand, which is Nunk, and like Amazon or Amazon reviews, and I kind of like saw the search terms, and I decided, okay, if I'm not there, I'm losing sales. And I was right, because when I just launched the products, even without having a brand, without the A+ content, without so much stuff, we got sales just like from the organic traffic. So we kind of like felt like Amazon was adding in between 10 to sometimes 40% of our daily revenue. So really depends on the amount of traffic and the specific platforms that we're pulling in traffic from. So
yeah, that's huge. I see. Basically, it's been really interesting watching this kind of blend of affiliates and Amazon. When you look at the big sort of events going on in the space, like Affiliate World, which we've both done speeches at, they've started to pivot more and more towards e-commerce over the years and more towards Amazon. You know, it was first drop shipping, now it's moving more towards Amazon. And more conversations with affiliates, they kind of have this grass is greener on the other side approach when it comes to Amazon, and a lot of them are not nervous about maybe other affiliates as their competition. They're nervous about Amazon, as they should be, because Amazon has more than 100 million locked in customers with Amazon Prime. So what do you think in the affiliate space? Why are affiliates more attracted to Amazon? Are general affiliate offers going down, like CPA marketing? Are people so interested in Amazon?
I mean, I have so much to say about that, but I think you kind of like touched. I don't know if it's the main point, but it's certainly a big point where affiliates always feel like the grass is greener on the other side. You know, so like a Facebook type of an affiliate would be crying over Facebook banning his accounts and stuff, and would think that, wow, pushing ads or pushing products on Amazon is amazing. And the Amazon guy would tell him, dude, you don't know what I've been through, just like trying to negotiate certain stuff and just having to wait for something that's never going to happen, or having your SKUs and stuff like being hijacked, or weird stuff that could happen.
Yeah, so is it very different, selling on Amazon very different from in reality than the imagination that you had when you...
It's always like different, because the reality that people like, not the reality, I mean the reality that people try to portray before you come into either affiliate marketing, drop shipping, lead generation, Amazon stuff, is that, you know, it's like you're setting up a campaign, you choose a different bunch of products, and then you go to your next Ferrari or Lamborghini agency and just buy the most expensive green car that you can. And then people come to the industry, and in reality, it feels like almost like sometimes a washing machine, where you get in, you get a couple of spins inside, you get thrown out, you know, because you either don't know what you're doing, or you have so much more to learn. And the fact that this industry keeps on evolving and it's not changing. People are saying that the industry is changing. It's not changing. That's what's so complex about this industry. It's always adding more layers, and 80% of the times, the older layers are still relevant. So it's like almost like starting to read Harry Potter, and like you have a bunch of like books, and every week another book is being added, you know? So it's kind of like really hard to get in and just like start to read from scratch. And also the question is always, when do you stop reading? Well, when do you stop like doing the theory part and actually setting up products? And, you know, because I know people that have been studying for years on and out and never set up a campaign. So that's also a big issue.
Yeah, I think I got trapped in that sort of analysis paralysis for like 6 months before I started. You know, I was just reading all these affiliate marketing blogs and on STM and doing all this before I ever actually like spent like a fucking dollar. And then I don't know why I waited that long to just kind of hop in, but I gotta say I'm loving
it's a combination of so many things that you need to have inside your personality. It's not just enough to be just this geek who gets obsessed about so much like material that there is to read, or the guy that knows really good how to generate networking skills and stuff like that. You also need actually the balls to actually set up stuff and make a move, you know?
Mm-hmm. I gotta say though, I'm loving the metaphors with the spin cycle and Harry Potter. I think that's a really great way to put it, because a lot of people are getting just overwhelmed with the amount of information that we need to consume and master on a daily basis, especially when, like you said, you're doing kind of full stack marketing, you know, involved with Google, has a lot of changes. You know, I think last year they did release more than 1,000 changes to their ad platform within the year. That's like 3-4 a day. You're looking at Facebook with the impending iOS 14 changes. Everyone is freaking out. And you're looking at Amazon, there's a million changes every single day. And when you're trying to juggle all of these different things like we have to do, because I consider myself pretty, you know, full stack Zack of all trades, I'm also in a bunch of different things. It's a lot to keep up with on a day-to-day basis. So how do you keep up on a day-to-day basis with what you need to be learning?
So people tell me, like, the question I get asked like every conference at least 10 times is how much hours I work in a day or a week and stuff. And I know it sounds like, I don't know, but I never feel like I work because I really love what I do. I know it sounds like, oh my God, this guy, but I really love what I do. So when there's a new thing that comes out, I'm like friends with guys who work on Facebook and Google and stuff. So I'll be the guy who gets the betas or the alphas, and I'll get to review sometimes those things. I think that in an industry like ours right now, when there are so many new affiliates that are joining in and trying to media buy, the biggest struggle right now is that even if you have a solid product, an amazing company, you know how to buy media on Facebook, on Instagram, on Pinterest, on TikTok, on whatever, on like Google stuff, you'll still have a hard time because each day it's like 20, 50 more people are coming in to lose money. They don't care about the CPMs and the CPCs and the stuff that they are raising the auction. They don't care about so much stuff. They're just auto bidding most of the time, and then they'll just like lose a bunch of money. Sometimes a couple of $100, sometimes a couple of $1,000, and they'll be thrown out of the industry. And I think the best thing right now, or the thing that I love to do the most, would be taking those new changes. It's almost like reading the change log. Whatever Google added to their platform, whatever changes that they made to their algorithm, and how to, first of all, see how to creatively change it. Like, I love taking those really closed systems, like the Google Shopping Network, for example, and see how I can really make those big manipulations to the system where, even though it's almost fully automated, you can still make tons of changes that would help you squeeze more traffic that you're currently getting or increase the ROI. And there's a lot of stuff that people aren't just doing. Like, when I consult people, I just see their accounts and I'm like,
well, you can definitely take a look at my account anytime. We'll definitely dive into Google Shopping a bit later because I have so many fucking questions about it. Yeah, so I think you hit like a really good point, just about new people always coming in, setting bids on auto or super high. They're just like, I just want to make the sale. They get chewed up by the platforms in like a week or 2 weeks. But there's always new people like that coming in, burning money. And so the bids never hit like a reasonable level because these people are just going in, getting chewed out. And
I always do the
toss out the washing machine.
Yeah, I always just compare it to a poker table where, you know, it's like you can be the best poker player in the world, but you'll have 7 more players that are complete assholes that just go all in each round, you know, pre-flop, all in, all in, all in. And, you know, someone would make some money, but at the end they're going to lose money, and just like those 7 are just like keep changing, you know. So that's how the industry feels right now.
I love it. Yeah, you're finding absolutely crystal clear ways to bring these up. I love it. So most Amazon sellers have like their very specific launch process. They're very, you know, the way that they launch on Amazon. Every Amazon seller mostly does the same stuff, but I think you come at it from a really different angle. And back when Nunk was called Glow, I took a look at your Facebook ads and I was blown away because no Amazon seller is doing anything like what you were doing. You know, I go to his ad library and I see like 400 different ad variations at least, just tons and tons of different campaigns running, you know, tons of native ads as well, really crazy advertorial landers and stuff like this that I haven't seen from basically any Amazon sellers. So let's talk a little bit about that. We have a couple different angles we can go, both from how you're using Facebook to launch products, how you're using Taboola and Outbrain, because no Amazon seller I've ever talked to that I did not work with has used native. I know approximately 0 fucking people that have ever.
You know one. You know one. I mean, so yeah, these are all amazing points. So the thing is that I always try and take into at least what's for me an uncharted territory. I'm trying to take whatever I know from my past and my knowledge and bring it on and see how I can improve the current situation. So I had a really certain strategy that kind of like was super dynamic in terms of like, I used Amazon at the start at least to capture all the traffic that I could have just from the brand recognition. Mm-hmm. So I was like creating a lot of brand recognition and a big like brand uplift on the native side or wherever I could buy like cheap impressions that were of course relevant. Mm-hmm. And then I would try and grab as much as I can from the Amazon side just to accelerate the reviews and like the brand recognition part. So I wanted to be on Amazon just to get the initial like push. And then my strategy was adding a bunch more products. So our first product was the apple cider vinegar, and now we're coming out with what we call the dream gummies, which is sleeping gummies. And we're going to have the first electrolyte gummies. And also we're adding a hair, skin, and nails type of product, which is going to be our beauty gummies. So the strategy was and is to create those 4 products as like the front type of like products in terms of like marketing, create really good advertorials and stuff. And what we did is really take the A/B testing and the segmentation strategy to the next level. So we did a bunch of stuff that most people don't really do. The first thing that we did is create a funnel for each type of platform and for each type of audience inside the platform. So it sounds complex and it's a bit of like a weird thing to set up, but once you do that and you have that set up, you're on a different level of like an A/B test optimization thing. So what we did is create a campaign for Google, campaign for Facebook, and campaigns for native. And every time we created a new campaign, a new targeting, if it was a lookalike, if it was a really targeted interest-based or behavioral-based, or if it was a search type of a campaign, if it was like a campaign that was based on a branded keyword or like a competitor keyword or maybe a GDN, a Gmail, YouTube, if it was remarketing, and we created separate campaigns for each one. And each one had a different A/B testing variant. And what we found out is something that makes complete logic, is that we had at least 10 to 15% of sales that we were completely missing just because we weren't communicating with the right audience in the right way. So for example, the easiest example to tell you guys would be just like the bottom of funnel warm audience remarketing campaigns versus like the cold audience that you can or need to speak in a different way. Like those guys have already seen your ads, they have already recognized your product, they've shown certain interest, some of them abandoned their carts and stuff like that. And we just spoke to them in a whole different way. So in those remarketing campaigns, doesn't matter if they came through YouTube, Gmail, or GDN campaigns, or even search, we were trying to just approach them in terms of like copy in a different way, where we were trying to maybe create certain urgencies, or maybe offer something else, or do those kinds of stuff. So what we did is adjust the content inside the landing page and the advertorials to that specific platform. So if someone came from YouTube, the first thing that he would see once he clicked on the ad was a video. And if someone came from like a search type of like thing that showed super high purchase intent and stuff like that, the first thing that he saw was like a sale for like 35% that's going to end really soon. So just by adjusting and making those subtle adjustments to the content and just A/B testing throughout the platform and inside like the sub platform, like the targeting or like the specific placement, that made such a big difference that we've made. And just like responding to the fact that you've seen inside our ad library like 400 different ad variants and stuff like that, that's what we do. We just open up a bunch of accounts, a bunch of like different currencies, different campaign structures. Sometimes we would use the dynamic creative. Sometimes we would just like pick specific placements, like the feeds, like stories and stuff like that, and we would optimize. Reason for doing that, because most people would just go on Facebook right now, that's their go-to platform, and they would just launch a campaign. That campaign would be on automatic placements, automatic bidding, and it's like set and forget. And it's like the two big complaints that people are making. The first one would be, oh my God, my campaigns aren't converting. I don't know why. We've waited like 6 hours, then there's no conversion. I don't know why. People don't have any type of patience. And the second thing is that the second complaint, most common complaint, would be, yeah, the first 3 days we were killing it, and then the creative burned. The creative didn't burn. You're running on a completely automated thing. The algorithm has so many options that you're not really helping it in any way. And people just change creatives and relaunch campaigns and relaunch campaigns and relaunch campaigns. And our strategy was completely different. It was like taking on those really good creatives and like pushing them so hard that they would have so much engagement. And we got to the point where we had thousands of likes, comments, and shares inside our posts, and that created a huge uplift in terms of people who searched on Amazon. We actually A/B tested it, and saw that those highly engaged posts that we pushed, once we turned them off and ran like normal posts, we saw such a big drop in terms of like people who are searching and buying on Amazon. So Amazon is definitely, even when it's not Amazon, it's so funny, eh? Even when we're not talking inside Amazon, people are still looking for the comments, the reviews, the feedback from like as authentic as it could be. So if there was a way to actually kind of like artificially kind of like make a post have like, you know, really genuine type of like comments, that would probably create a big uplift in terms of like the sales inside Amazon.
I think this is a super, super key point about actually having social engagement on your Facebook ads and Facebook posts. It is a social network. And what I recommend for at least anyone running an ad is to send that ad to, you know, 10, 15 people in the first 10 minutes you have it running, and get them to leave a comment, because that initial boost of comments will show other people that they can comment. Will show other people how to comment, you know, what types of engagement they can do on this post. And it's huge because no one wants to be the first one.
For the Amazon audience, it's just like seeing a full restaurant. You know, people that see a full restaurant, they would just guess the food there is amazing, probably. There is a line, there is a queue. I want to get there. So that's the equivalent of Facebook posts to Amazon feedback and reviews.
Writing down your little metaphors here in the chat so I can remember them later.
Let me see. Oh.
Yeah. Guys,
yeah,
also, we have people listening to this. Feel free to chime in the live chat, and we will answer some of those questions coming up a little later. So I think you're saying some really good stuff and really advanced about how to kind of approach these platforms. For a lot of Amazon sellers, they don't have like a whole media buying team or even creative team. What type of work does it take to set all this stuff up?
Are you talking about like the media buying outside of Amazon, or
like
inside?
Taboola, Google, Facebook. What kind of team or budget?
It depends on like the level of knowledge and the experience that you have. Because if you don't have experience, I wouldn't start with Google unless it's a really smart or fully automated campaign that you just launch, connected to your merchant center account, and that's it. And I think that people that are doing it are bound to be really stuck, because what happens with those really smart Google campaigns is that they're really controlling your whole account. So once you want to scale up or do anything different, that smart campaign that's active would just like take over the whole account and will kind of like attract the fire into its own thing. Having said that, regarding to like just addressing to what you asked me, the setup could be something difficult that you might want to consider taking on a pro, just to make sure that all of the post backs, all of the pixels, the tracking, everything is completely set up, and just like email you or like make life easier for you and just send you those links. But definitely, if it's like, I would say Facebook would be the go-to place for like low budgets and for people that just wanna kind of like test, because Facebook has so many data points at this point that you kind of like, it's a plug and play type of platform. Moving on, if you wanna do something smarter, I would go on with like natives and just like launch there, because the optimization there is a lot easier, and you can just like launch, and if your product is good, then amazing. And I would say that Google would be the highest level, okay? And inside Google, just like I said, you have the smart campaigns, and then you have the shopping campaigns, which is kind of like sort of automated too. And then there is so much to do. So inside each one, each type of platform, you would have so many levels of like advanced stuff. So it depends on the amount of time and the potential that you see, and also the type of product. So if you know that you already have search traffic coming in and traction, the Google Shopping Network might be the place for you. It's just a matter of like how to manipulate the system in order to really push you and take that big chunk of like traffic from people who are actually,
Yeah, I think this is good. Just one last native question, then we'll go and we'll talk about Google for probably the rest of this thing. So for native, what kind of rough budget do you think people should approach native with? Or what kind of factors go into that decision?
Can you ask that again, please?
When people are kind of approaching native ads, what kind of budget do you think people should start with? How long do you think they should run campaigns?
So
optimize?
So to be completely honest, that's a question that I can probably talk about for 2 hours, but I'm gonna try and answer it in a really quick way and be as professional as I can. And also, I'm going to add a bunch more really smart manipulations, or what I call wolf tips, that you can take into your campaign just when you finish like watching us. So the thing is that if you're gonna, it's like, it really depends on the initial strategy. So if you know that you don't have a lot of budget, cash flow is an issue, or you have an inventory issue, then essentially you're not at the point where you want to scale. You're just trying to get like a proof of concept, maybe you're trying to really test out the waters. I would go as narrow as possible. That means opening up a desktop campaign that would probably convert at a higher conversion rate, not building the campaign in terms of like structure to scale. Because when you start with like a scaling strategy, you can at least at the start lose a bunch of money. So essentially the hard number, people always ask me for questions, and I like questions on how many you should do that and how much is that. And the answer in online marketing is always you need to test. But if you're looking for that hard number, then each campaign that you open up on either native platform would need at least 70 to 100 conversions. So if you're smart and you want to get those signals as fast as possible, you want to try and tell that platform to optimize on something that's really in like the initial part of the funnel. Maybe people who are viewing products, maybe people who are adding to cart. And the reason why, and these are like just like a couple of wolf tips, because you said that people aren't running on natives. So the first thing that I want to say regarding natives is that I think when I approach something, or I see a product that I want to copy, or I just think of a creative way or a new product that I want to push, I don't necessarily go to that place where I saw the ad or that the market is completely saturated. I'm looking for those creative platforms and media buying places that you can really be creative. So that's why I'm going with natives. Okay, so definitely consider natives on either type of market, just because there is just a big opportunity there. It's Q1, Q2, the CPCs are really amazing for e-commerce. Just take advantage of native platforms. You're gonna get a lot more traffic. The second point is that natives generate a ton of impressions and a ton of clicks because of those low CPMs, low CPCs, and it could be really in a prime location. So when you're generating a new native campaign, you kind of like have two approaches. So the way I look at it, the only way that you can really target inside a native platform would be through the headlines. Like the creative is the best way to target essentially. And then the algorithm really needs to see who clicks and who converts, and then target within like the third-party cookie data that those companies usually have. Outbrain and Taboola are usually the go-to places. So the two creative angles that you would want to consider in terms of like native, kind of like an approach to going to natives. The first one would be kind of like a clickbaity type of way that's really click enticing way. For example, those pills are going to help you lose a bunch of weight. People are amazed by those pills, blah, 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 for example. And the other angle would be a much more branded, which I found to be extremely helpful. That's like a game changer when it comes to Amazon marketing. I was branding the actual name into the headline. I was like, buy these nunk gummies, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's just like the opposite of what you want to look for. But I kind of like really helped the algorithm just not be as much as like CTR kind of like focused, but trying to really get people who are with high purchase intent and get these like brand recognition into the performance marketing type of like direct to consumer.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely huge. Is on native is just those headlines to filter out the people that would just kind of browse or you know, are just curious about the crazy image that you picked for the ad instead of that might actually buy it. Because for native, you need to really push the image, and you get really high CTR, but you can get a lot of people that don't care what your actual offer is. So you really need to call it out and use that headline to filter out the people that might.
Essentially, the way that it gives you such a higher ability to target. So, for example, the type of people that would come from an ad that says these are going to help you lose weight 100% are most likely less smart type of like people than if you would say combining exercise with these gummies help you win a healthy fitness wellness type of lifestyle that you want. So that's just like an example of how you can really sub-target those like smarter type of audience and make sure that you keep your brand in the right positioning in terms of like credibility.
Yeah, super wolf tips. I'm loving it. So let's talk about Google Shopping. Man, there's so many places we can go with this.
Yeah.
Let's hear just more about your experience, some wolf tips on Google Shopping. I'll bring up some of my issues I'm having, and we'll go with it.
So the thing is that I would, if I had to guess, 70%, and you need to be honest about that regarding your account too, which I haven't seen, and to be fully transparent, we haven't talked about it. But I would guess that you're not really running any type of either search or shopping network remarketing campaign.
I have one remarketing campaign set up, and that's it.
But it's not a shopping network. Is it?
I will check on that.
Network remarketing campaign?
I'll show you. Yeah.
Okay, so the thing is that most people that I at least advise on and take on like my consultations, I just look at their account and they would have one campaign that's running for the shopping network with all of their products. It's completely automated and they're getting decent ROAS and spend on it, but they're trying to go to the next level. And the reason is that they are having hard time really moving on to the next level when it comes to the Google Shopping Network, is that they haven't structured it right. Okay, so if you look inside your settings for like the Google Shopping Network, you'll see that you have the option of prioritizing the campaign. There is a low, medium, and high type of like thing. Utilizing it is a really smart way of like doing things. So, for example, the first thing that you need to do is probably duplicate that campaign or just open up a new one. Make sure that you choose inside audiences all of your remarketing audiences, and I'm going to talk about it in a few minutes. And essentially, and also make sure that you exclude those specific user segments from the cold top of funnel campaign. And then you are left with two campaigns. One is just from that warm audience, users that already visited your site, know about your brand, blah, blah, blah. And that campaign should be in the highest prioritization that's possible because those people are highly likely to buy and you want to spend as much money as you can on them. And then you're just left with that cold audience. Okay, so first of all, segmenting out these two and making sure that you have warm and cold audience inside the shopping network. The second thing that you want to do is make sure, because Google has like this really fun thing that you can add a bunch of segments that relate to the same type of people. It's nowhere to be found, it's just on Google. So what I mean by that is it's really about how you create those user segments inside the audience library. When you set up your account, what I do is create a 7-day, 14-day, 30 days, 90 days, 120-day cart abandoners, like as many user segments as possible. And then I add all of them into my campaign. It doesn't matter, by the way, if it's a GDN campaign, if it's a shopping network campaign, if it's a search remarketing campaign, doesn't matter. And what's really cool about it is throughout time, like 7 days after, a month after, you're gonna see how those segments react differently. Like you'll see that the 7-day remarketing audience will have certain CPAs and certain CTRs, and those 30 days are going to have different CPAs, and then you can start bid adjusting inside that campaign those user segments. So for example, you'll say, okay, that segment, the users that came in and just like in that like 14-day cycle are the highest value to me, so I'm going to bid adjust them by 15, 20%. And those users who are like 180 days, who are super old type of like segment, I'm going to bid adjust down by 20%, for example. So what you're going to be left with is a super smart campaign that actually knows how to recognize the duration, the time that that user has been inside your site and segment, and then bid adjust it down and up. So you're going to end up paying less for the less valuable users and more for the more valuable ones. So that's definitely like the second manipulation or hack that I would recommend.
Yo, I cannot explain how much that just rocked my world while I'm like looking at my ad account right now, and that's something I completely have not explored. So that's fantastic.
So the next thing would be, and Google is all about segmentation. I've been saying it for like a couple of, or maybe more years throughout my videos and the texts and the speeches. The next thing would be segmenting out the products. If you're looking to get more traffic, if you're looking to scale, definitely do that. Definitely do that. Just like take on the really good products, you can select specific products. Like people just like, most people just would select all products, open up a Google shopping campaign, and that's it. And you'll see that you have certain products that are performing really bad, that by segmenting them out inside a separate campaign, and just by starting to either bid adjust them, letting the algorithm just like, sometimes like for example, I'm gonna share with you a personal story. Like a client of mine sells a yoga, meditation, and Pilates products. Okay, and they have a really large store. They're making really big revenues and stuff. And what I noticed is that there was a group of something like 20 or 25 products that were really killing the ROAS on the shopping network campaign. What I did is just launch those products in a different campaign, because I didn't want to, like, of course, if I was like seeking just to get the highest ROI or ROAS, then I would just exclude them from the shopping campaign. That's the easy thing to do. But I kind of like wanted to fight over them and get that traffic, because I felt like there is more to be found there. I segmented them out and opened up a different campaign. And what I noticed is that when I was looking inside devices, is that the traffic that came in from the desktop campaigns or the desktop traffic placements was amazing. It was like converting on almost like 10%. And the mobile ones were just getting clicks and never converting on those products. So just by making that distinction inside those specific products, turn them from like really sore losers to like my baseline in terms of like profit. Now they're just these products that are making the most money for me in that account. So that's like a big manipulation that people also should use.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been starting to do more of that, and it's been good. Except my issue is I'm mostly high ticket products. I'm a reseller for a bunch of different brands that have a lot of competition, and something that's been difficult for me is figuring out how is Google ranking my product when a bunch of different sellers are selling the same product. Because it's not only based on the bid, because I believe I'm bidding in a good place. Sometimes I'm very high up the ad ranking and I'll be in like the first couple spots. Sometimes I'm way down at the bottom, even with pretty high bids and a pretty okay budget.
Yeah.
So what factors kind of go into the ad rank or the placement of your individual store on Google Shopping results?
So at the end of the day, what you need to remember is that Google is pricing stuff with essentially just like the RPMs or the CPMs that you're paying. Mm-hmm. So you want to get the highest CTR. It's just like the search game at the end of the day. So you're looking to get more place, more real estate when it comes to like your ad, and it's just a world of like creativity. So it could be from so many different angles. I'm just gonna share with you a couple of ideas. First one would be, of course, making adjustments to the image. Okay, that's a big thing. But if you want to take it to the kind of like wolf level, then you can push it towards the Merchant Center account. So I would also guess that you haven't logged into your Merchant Center accounts for a lot of time, maybe ever since you set up the account. And what you'll find there is that you have a bunch of stuff inside, like, for example, promotional stuff that you can apply to, and just like really fun stuff that Google would help you push your products. So it's just like if I'm trying to, it's kind of like the equivalent of like the ad extensions inside the search network. So if you go through those promotions and just try to apply and stuff like that, that would say, at least to Google, to the platform, hey, there is a really sophisticated type of like seller here that knows what he's doing. And also on like the front end of the stuff, like the stuff that the actual client and user sees, you'll get more real estate and things would pop up because it would, you know, show as like a promotion.
Yeah, I'm playing around more and more with promotion feeds to see what works, because you're right, almost no one is playing around with any sort of promotion on Google Shopping. And for the Amazon sellers in the audience, it works in the same way like when you launch a coupon on Amazon, where it makes your results kind of stand out, and it has like the tag like promotion, because everyone just uses free shipping and no other text, and it's such a big piece of real estate on the shopping results. And ratings are really key as well. I'm still trying to find some good ways to do that and go up against people like Home Depot and Build.com with their like 20,000, 50,000.
There is a lot of manipulations that you can also make to the reviews inside Google. So talk to me about it.
Yeah. And that'll be in the after chat.
After hours.
Yeah. So what kind of stuff do you work on as far as like feed optimization or working with your Merchant Center feed?
I'm not
a lot of time optimizing.
Yeah, no, it's mostly about SEO stuff. So what I'll do is either create several products or just make changes when I see that there is a certain problem. But most of my optimizations would be on the other end of stuff, just like I was saying.
Yeah, super good stuff. Any other wolf tips on Google Shopping before we wrap up?
Oh my God, I have so many. I can't even remember right now what I wanted to say. So we talked about product segmentation. We talked about opening up different campaigns. And I also like, by the way, opening up a third campaign for past purchasers and stuff like that. Also, something else that I noticed that people are making a mistake regarding shopping and the shopping network is by opening up a campaign and just launching maximize conversions types of campaign, just like the automated stuff. And I'm not just talking about the shopping network, because you can't launch a new shopping network with a target ROAS thing because it wouldn't allow you. But I personally love just manually bidding stuff. Really.
Yeah, I'm mostly manual bidding as well.
Yeah, because if you're going to be really hands-on on that campaign and you're just managing one account, don't use the automated stuff, especially when there is no really room for, you know, optimization in terms of like placements and stuff when it comes to the shopping network. So at least optimize on the bids yourself.
Yeah. Do you use any sort of automation tools for Google Shopping?
Never.
A couple of my friends have found some really good ones. Like Optio, I believe, is the one. And he did $2 million through Google Shopping, mostly through optimizing with this tool. But me and him were both selling like very, very expensive shit. And this is the problem, is that I'm not getting all of the data I need to optimize, because when you're selling a $5,000 medical fridge, you're not going to be getting enough conversions to pull out all the different data.
Definitely.
And so that's most of my challenge. But I think a lot of what you were saying about
like products
was super, super useful. All right, guys. So this has been episode 2 of the Zack Franklin Show. So where can we find you online? I heard you have a pretty cool YouTube channel.
Yeah, so I just posted the link to my YouTube channel. It's full of like videos that I share, like really good stuff, really geek stuff, advanced stuff. So if you're into Google in general, just make sure that you subscribe. It's not really for new players. It's more for the advanced stuff, but definitely make sure that you join. I just posted on the chat again, so you can make sure that you subscribe there.
Don't just subscribe, share this with other Amazon sellers and e-commerce guys, because everyone, I think, this year is going to discover just how good Google Shopping can be. I'm a huge proponent of Google Shopping. I've been promoting it in a lot of the different speeches and conferences that I've been doing, even though they're virtual. I think that this YouTube channel has a lot of absolute rock solid content, and it's free, because you believe knowledge should be free. So you're sharing some really crazy shit that no one else is really even looking at, and I love that. All right, so join us next week. If you are listening to this whenever I make this into like a podcast, check it out at seller.deals/meet. We do these live every week. This is number 15 of our live events, and we will keep these going for a long time to come. We started off with only a couple sellers going for maybe about an hour, and now they just never seem to stop. We're on here for like 3-4 hours at a time sometimes, digging deep into everyone's issues, and people are really getting to know each other and have a good time. So I recommend you guys join these, seller.deals/meet. All right. And that's when you also get to be on the private Q&A after the podcast, as long as Maor is going to stick around. So we're going to go back to the table session. Let me see how many people we have. We have 19 people, I think. Yeah, so we'll keep it in the tables for a little bit. And if we have too many people for one table, we might bring it back to this type of session style. Okay. All right, so we'll bring it to the tables for maybe 5-10 minutes, and then do another thing like this, I think, and do the conversation, because we can only have 8 people on the different tables.
Right.
All right.